Aliens banned pizza because it smelled like war to their antennae senses. That was the first fact Melissa Carter learned when she transferred to Ragnarok Academy, the most prestigious alien school in the Orion Arm. The second fact was that she was the only human there, which made everything from gym class to cafeteria conversations about 30 times more awkward. Still, Melissa had a habit of staying after school. Back home on Earth, she used to linger in classrooms to help teachers tidy up. It wasn't just because she liked being useful, it was because she found quiet comfort in rearranging chairs and stacking books when everyone else had left. At Ragnarok Academy, that habit continued. Every evening, she would stay late, gathering scattered hollow tablets, brushing up alien chalk dust, and carefully returning strange crystal instruments to their glowing lockers. Most of her classmates thought she was strange. Some whispered that humans were a fragile species with too much free time. But one teacher, Professor Clothar, a six-eyed cephalopod mathematician, would always rumble approvingly when she volunteered. "Discipline through service, Carter human," he would say while rearranging his tentacles. On the day it all began, Melissa stayed late once again. She hummed an old Earth tune while sweeping up shards of glowing resin after a careless group of Tarian students had smashed their experimental sculpture. She thought she was alone, but faint vibrations shivered through the floor. She frowned. Vibrations like that were unusual, since the Academy floated inside a protective energy cocoon orbiting a gas giant. Curious, she followed the tremors to the Grand Hall, where towering spires of alien steel bent toward the central skylight. What she found made her freeze. A vast fissure was spreading across the hall's crystalline dome, splitting into jagged branches. Beyond it, stars flickered erratically, and a strange aurora spiraled through the void. A group of faculty clustered below, chattering in urgent clicks and growls. Melissa ducked behind a support pillar and strained to listen. "The cycle ends," rasped Principal Ziltar, his thorax glowing dimly. "The Ragnarok protocol awakens." The prophecy was not a metaphor after all, Ragnarok. Melissa had read that word before. It was one of Earth's old mythologies, about the end of the world. The aliens were speaking as though it were real and about to happen here. Another teacher, tall and insectoid, clattered her mandibles. "The students must evacuate. The academy cannot be saved." Melissa's stomach tightened. She looked around. Hallways branched off toward the dorms, where hundreds of alien students were likely preparing for their evening cycle. Evacuation meant chaos. If the dome cracked, the entire academy would be exposed to the one giant storms, not to mention the spatial rift twisting outside. She stepped forward without thinking. "Wait!" Every alien head swiveled toward her, eyes narrowing, antennae twitching, throats clicking in dissonance. "Carter human," Principal Ziltar hissed. "This is no time for your interruptions." "But maybe I can help," Melissa said, clutching her broom like it was a sword. "On Earth, when something breaks, we fix it. We don't just run." Laughter, sharp and insectoid, echoed through the chamber. "Fix this? With what tools, child?" Melissa's mind raced. The fissure wasn't just spreading randomly. She could see its branches moving in repeating patterns, like cracks in ice, each splitting at near-perfect angles. Her eyes traced the rhythm. It reminded her of geometry puzzles she used to solve in detention. "It's not just breaking," she said aloud. "It's following a sequence. Maybe if we interrupt it—" "Enough!" barked the insectoid teacher. But Professor Clothar slid forward, tentacles curling with interest. "Continue, Carter human." Melissa swallowed. "If we can disrupt the pattern at the right place, maybe the spread will stop. Do you have tools to project counter-frequency energy?" The aliens exchanged glances. To them, she was just a cleaning girl, a curiosity at best. But Clothar tilted his six eyes toward the ceiling and gave a slow nod. "Perhaps the human sees what we do not." Within minutes, she was surrounded by humming devices, crystals glowing, and arrays of alien instruments she couldn't name. Professor Clothar handed her a tablet-like console. "Mark the point." Melissa scanned the dome again. The cracked sequence formed a lattice, converging near the western spire. She jabbed her finger against the screen. "There." The faculty activated the array. Pulses of light shot upward, colliding with the crack's leading edge. The fissure shivered, then halted, as though caught in mid-breath. Gasps filled the hall. Melissa let out a shaky laugh. See? Not hopeless, but relief was short-lived. A deafening roar shook the academy. Through the skylight, a titanic shape emerged from the aurora, serpentine, armored in black scales that shimmered like obsidian. It coiled around the academy dome, massive jaws parting in a roar that rattled Melissa's bones. Principal Ziltar's voice quivered. The world serpent awakens. The Ragnarok is upon us. Students screamed in the corridors as alarms blared. Melissa tightened her grip on the broom. She was no warrior, no scientist, just a human girl who stayed after school to clean. But she remembered the old Earth stories her grandmother had told her. When monsters came, even the smallest heroes could fight back. All right, Snake, Melissa muttered. If this is Ragnarok, then we'll mop the floor with you. She sprinted toward the stairwell, broom raised like a lance as the alien faculty scrambled to rally their defenses. And for the first time, the academy realized that the one student they had dismissed as ordinary might be the only one standing between them and destruction. Melissa raced through the trembling corridors of Ragnarok Academy, her heart pounding faster than the alarm sirens. The serpent outside squeezed the dome, shards of light splintering off the cracks that Melissa and the professors had tried to stabilize. Students of every species fled in every direction, tentacles thrashing, wings flapping, tails lashing. But Melissa charged the opposite way, toward the grand hall where the core energy conduits converged. She didn't know if her broom could really help, but she did know one thing. Humans had always survived by being clever and stubborn in the face of impossible odds. When she burst into the hall, the faculty were already struggling to repel the creature. Pulses of energy shot from crystalline pylons, striking the serpent's scales only to fizzle like sparks against steel. The beast opened its jaws and spat a torrent of corrosive mist that ate away at the pylons, causing the protective fields to flicker. Clethar turned to Melissa, his 6 eyes glowing with desperation. Carter Human, you claim the cracks followed a pattern. This beast's movements are chaotic. Do you see order in its chaos? Melissa steadied her breathing, staring at the serpent's coiling body. At first it looked random, each twist and squeeze crushing the academy dome at different points. But then she realized the coils tightened in cycles, repeating after every 7th constriction. The creature wasn't random at all. It was following a rhythm like a predator circling its prey. It's a loop, she shouted, and every 7th squeeze is weaker. If we time a counter-strike at that moment, we can stun it. The aliens hesitated, uncertain, but Melissa stomped her foot. Trust me, humans survive because we notice patterns others ignore. Fire when I say. The serpent's coils shifted again. 1, 2, 3. The cracks in the dome groaned louder. 4, 5, 6. Its scales shimmered with a dark energy. Now, Melissa yelled. On her command, every pylon unleashed its full charge. The energy slammed into the serpent just as its 7th squeeze weakened, piercing the gaps between its scales. The beast shrieked, recoiling in pain, its massive body thrashing against the void. The academy trembled as fragments of crystalline glass rained down. But Melissa pressed forward, climbing a support column until she reached the auxiliary control node. Her hands flew across the alien console, activating systems she had only seen in passing. She might not know all the symbols, but she knew enough from cleaning to recognize the difference between on and off. With a final swipe, she redirected the Academy's power grid into the pylons, overloading them with every ounce of stored energy. One more shot, she screamed. The second blast tore through the serpent's armored chest. For a moment, it seemed as though nothing had happened. Then a massive wound ripped open, spilling radiant plasma into space. The serpent writhed, letting out a roar so loud the void itself seemed to shudder, before it collapsed into a spiral of dissolving scales. Silence fell. The aurora dimmed. The cracks in the dome ceased spreading. Melissa collapsed onto the floor, gasping, her broom still clutched tightly in her hand. Around her, students and teachers emerged from hiding, their alien eyes wide with disbelief. Principal Ziltar stepped forward, his thorax glowing brighter than Melissa had ever seen. Carter human. You have done what none of us could. You saw the flaw in the end of days, Melissa shrugged weakly. On Earth, we say every problem is just a mess waiting to be cleaned. Guess I just tidied up. Laughter rippled through the crowd, strange sounds from dozens of species, but filled with relief. That night, the Academy held a ceremony under the repaired dome, with banners of light rippling across the sky. Melissa was presented with a crystalline medallion, the highest honor Ragnarok had ever bestowed on a student. The faculty bowed their heads, and her classmates cheered, many holding up imitation brooms as a sign of respect. And though Melissa smiled, she never forgot that she was just one human among countless aliens. Yet it was her humanity that had saved them all. The story ends with the Alien Academy safe once more, its students forever remembering the human girl who stayed after school to clean, and who, when Ragnarok came knocking, proved that even the smallest acts of persistence could hold back the end of worlds. Humans, after all, were never to be underestimated. Did you like today's story? Then catch our posts at 3 p.m. Eastern Time daily. Unfold more intergalactic stories with Professor Space.